Welcome back again, everyone. It's Dina Kalmeta here with CWW7 News. And for today's broadcast, I do have some breaking news I'd like to share with you. I wasn't going to bring you a broadcast until Monday, but there's just too many things that are happening right now. So I felt to bring you this quick broadcast today and get you caught up on these headlines. And I first would like to talk about what is happening with Israel. The Times of Israel is reporting that 220 rockets have been fired at Israel. 2 have been hurt, and the IDF has hit terror targets, destroying the IJ tunnel. The European Union has called for rocket fire from the Gaza Strip into Israel to stop immediately and throws its backing behind efforts by Egypt and the UN to calm the situation. The spokeswoman stated that the rocket fire from Gaza towards Israel must stop immediately, and de-escalation of this dangerous situation is urgently needed to ensure that civilian lives are protected. IDF tanks and helicopters began attacking terrorist targets belonging to Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad in the Gaza Strip, managing to destroy an attack tunnel entering Israel from the southern part of the Strip. The tunnel was, until Saturday, under surveillance by the IDF. It was destroyed by fighter planes. A Hamas spokesperson in Gaza stated that the resistance is always ready to respond to the crimes of the occupation. We are committed to protecting our people and to deter Israel at all costs and under all circumstances. It goes on further to report that since the beginning of the weekend, 5 Palestinians have been killed according to Palestinian sources. The Gaza Health Ministry, however, reports that 1 was killed and 9 injured. The Israeli military says it has attacked some 120 targets in the Gaza Strip after hundreds of rockets and mortar shells were fired at southern Israel throughout the day, injuring 2 people, including an 80-year-old woman who was seriously injured after a rocket exploded. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday instructed the army to deal a hard blow to terror groups in the Gaza Strip in response to the rocket fire. A senior Israeli official told Channel 13 News that there is growing understanding that there will not be an immediate return to calm on the southern border, with an expectation of at least 2 to 3 days of fighting. The army has warned it will expand strikes in the Gaza Strip if rocket fire from the enclave continues. So definitely a very dangerous situation what's happening in Israel right now. And I will continue to follow these reports and bring you updates. But speaking of Israel, I would like to bring you a quick update in regards to the peace plan. The Jerusalem Post is reporting that Jared Kushner stated on Thursday that he hopes Israel will take a hard look at President Trump's upcoming Middle East peace proposal before proceeding with any plan to annex West Bank settlements. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed that he would annex Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank in a move that would be bound to trigger condemnation from the Palestinians and the Arab world and complicate the U.S. peace effort. Kushner, speaking at a dinner of the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, said the Middle East peace proposal that he has been putting together was close to release, and that Israel and the Palestinians should wait to see it before making any unilateral moves. He said the issue would be discussed with the Israeli government when Netanyahu forms a governing coalition, stating that I hope both sides will take a real look at it, the Israeli side and the Palestinian side, before any unilateral steps are made. However, the Palestinians have refused to talk to the U.S. side since President Trump decided to move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem and declare Jerusalem the capital of Israel. The Palestinians want to establish a state in the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip, all territory Israel captured in 1967. Kushner has stated, "What we will be able to put together is a solution that we believe is a good starting point for the political issues, and then outline for what can be done to help these people start living a better life." I was given the assignment of trying to find a solution between the 2 sides, and I think what we'll put forward is a framework that I think is realistic. It's executable, and it's something that I do think will lead to both sides being much better off. Kushner has stated that the proposal is not an effort to impose U.S. will on the region. He has not said whether it calls for a 2-state solution, a goal of past peace efforts, but on Thursday night he called on all critics to hold their fire until they are able to see the plan in its entirety. Apparently, there are reports that the peace plan will be released sometime in June, so I will definitely continue to keep you updated. However, I would like to move on and talk about North Korea. Reuters is reporting that North Korea had fired several unidentified short-range projectiles into the Sea off its coast on Saturday, prompting South Korea to call on its neighbor to stop acts that escalate military tension on the Korean peninsula. The South Korean military initially described it as a missile launch, but subsequently gave a more vague description. The latest firing came after the North's test of what it called a tactical guided weapon system in April. Analysts suspected the flurry of military activity by North Korea was an attempt to exert pressure on the United States to give ground in negotiations to end the North's nuclear program after a summit in February ended in failure. South Korea's presidency urged North Korea to refrain from further action, stating that we are concerned about the North's latest action. We expect North Korea to actively join efforts toward the fast resumption of denuclearization talks. In a Twitter message on Saturday morning, President Donald Trump said he was still confident that he could reach a deal with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, tweeting that I believe that Kim Jong-un fully realizes the great economic potential of North Korea and will do nothing to interfere or end it. He also knows that I am with him and does not want to break his promise to me. Deal will happen. A senior research fellow at the Korea Defense and Security Forum described Saturday's action as an expression of the North's frustration, stating that it is a message that could return to the previous confrontational mode if there is no breakthrough in the stalemate. Finally, it reports that the South Korean military said it was conducting joint analysis with the United States of the latest launches. Experts say the projectiles appeared to come from multiple rocket launchers and were not ballistic missiles. But on Tuesday, North Korea's vice foreign minister warned that the United States would face undesired consequences if it fails to present a new position in denuclearization talks by the end of the year. On Friday, President Trump spoke with Russian President Putin by phone for about an hour, covering a range of topics at a time of heightened tensions between the two nations. President Trump himself later called it a long and very good conversation as the two discussed trade, Venezuela, Ukraine, North Korea, nuclear arms control, and even the Russian hoax. President Trump was of the opinion that long before the witch hunt started, getting along with Russia, China, and everyone is a good thing, not a bad thing. In a readout provided after Friday's call, the Kremlin stated that the heads of state expressed satisfaction with the conversation, which was businesslike and constructive. During the talk, common views were reached on North Korea and the need to intensify dialogue in various fields, including on issues of strategic stability. But on Venezuela, President Putin warned that attempts to change power by force undermine the prospects for a political settlement of the crisis. And Trump stated that President Putin is not looking at all to get involved in Venezuela, other than he'd like to see something positive happen. And I feel the same way, stated the president. We want to get some humanitarian aid. Right now, people are starving. They have no water, and they have no food. Meanwhile, Pompeo called Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Wednesday to increase the pressure. Pompeo is expected to speak with Russian officials again next week, and senior administration officials are discussing what may be offered to entice President Putin to abandon Maduro, or at least get out of the way of the international effort to support Guaido. The senior administration official stated that at the end of the day, if we can come to terms with Russia and they fall back on their support for Maduro, that would be a huge deal. President Donald Trump and other top administration officials this week repeatedly said all options were under consideration, including military ones. There are several steps that can be taken short of ground troops, including covert operations and a naval blockade. The increased attention to military option for Venezuela, which has been defined, is raising concerns across Washington and the region. Some diplomats and former Trump officials spoke out against the use of unilateral force and argued it's time for a shift in strategy. Some Trump allies are pushing the administration to take stronger steps, including authorizing covert operations and psychological warfare. And in Venezuela, Maduro has repeatedly warned the United States against military involvement in the ongoing political crisis. The Venezuelan leader has called on the military to be ready in case the United States launches an offensive on Venezuelan soil, telling his soldiers to be ready to defend the country with weapons in hand if one day the North American empire dares to touch this land, this sacred ground. The years-long political crisis in Venezuela reached a boiling point this week when Juan Guaido announced that he called the final push to oust Maduro. Guaido called on civilians and military on Tuesday to join his attempted coup, saying that he had the backing of the armed forces. only a small amount of the military appeared to have heeded his call, and Nicolas Maduro the following day said the uprising had been a failure, pledging to resist the forces intent on submitting our country to a neo-colonial economic domination model and enslaving Venezuela. So some very interesting news there in regards to Venezuela. Hopefully there will not be any military confrontation. But as always, I will definitely continue to keep you updated. But I do have one last report I'd like to bring to you. RT News is reporting that China is interested in joining a nuclear pact with the United States and Russia to reduce the number of nuclear warheads. President Trump stated that we're talking about a nuclear agreement where we make less and they make less, and maybe even get rid of the tremendous firepower we have right now. He and President Putin discussed a possibility of making it a three-way deal with China, adding that Beijing would very much like to be a part of the deal. He had brought up the topic in the ongoing trade talks with the Chinese, and they were more excited about it than about the trade. Earlier this month, in a meeting with Chinese trade envoy, Trump bemoaned the levels of military spending by major powers, suggesting all that money could be better spent on other things. He also said at the time, I think it's much better if we all got together and we didn't make these weapons. So definitely some very positive news there, but only if the US, Russia, and China can come together and agree. But I guess only time will tell. But with that said, I'd love to hear from all of you, so please do leave your comments in the comments section and share your thoughts about what's happening with these nations. Also, if you have a free moment, come and visit us on Facebook, where we have these stories and many more, as well as our website at www.cww7news.org. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and God bless.